There's a couple earning $133,000 a year, top 25% of American households. Two careers, two degrees, one mortgage. They did everything the economy asked them to do, and last month, when their car broke down, they put the repair on a credit card. Not because they're careless, because that's what their financial reality actually looks like. If you've ever wondered why two incomes don't feel like twice the security, this is going to reframe how you see your own paycheck. I'm Aria, and this channel doesn't give financial advice. We explain how money actually works, psychologically, structurally, over time. Because understanding why intelligent people feel financially stuck matters more than being told what to do about it. What you're about to hear isn't about budgeting harder. It's about recognizing a system that quietly swallowed an entire generation's backup plan. Let me give you the numbers behind that couple. She works in marketing, $62,000 a year. He's in IT, $71,000. Combined, they're bringing home what should feel like financial breathing room, except it doesn't. They've got maybe 2 months of expenses saved. When something unexpected happens, a car repair, a medical bill, anything, they're one decision away from credit card debt. And here's what makes this so disorienting. They're not failing. They followed the script. Education, careers, marriage, home ownership, everything their parents' generation said would build stability. So why does it feel like they're standing on financial quicksand? Because something fundamental changed between their parents' economy and theirs, and it wasn't just inflation. We've been told that two incomes are better than one. It seems mathematically obvious. If one person earning $50,000 can support a household, then two people earning $50,000 each should support that household and have $50,000 left over. Basic addition, except that's not what happened. What actually happened is that the economy absorbed both incomes and restructured around the assumption that both would always be working. The second income didn't create a surplus. It became required just to access the same baseline that one income used to cover. Let me take you back to 1970, not for nostalgia, for structure. In 1970, about 43% of women participated in the workforce. Most middle-class families operated on one primary income, and that income was enough. Not barely enough, actually that's enough. A median single-income family could buy a median-priced home and spend about 25% of their income on housing. They could afford public schools that were reasonably well-funded regardless of neighborhood. Healthcare, a car, food, occasional vacations. They had a financial margin. But here's the part most people miss. They also had a backup plan. If the primary earner lost their job or got sick, the stay-at-home parent could enter the workforce. That second potential income was an insurance policy, a reserve that could be activated in an emergency. It wasn't being used, that's what made it valuable. Fast forward to today, female workforce participation is around 57%. In over 60% of married couples with children, both parents work. The two-income household isn't an option anymore, it's the norm. We activated the emergency backup plan and made it the standard operating system. And when that happened, the economy recalibrated. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, median household income in 2023 was about $74,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's higher than 1970. We're making more money than our parents did. But look at what happened to costs. Median home prices in 1970, adjusted for inflation, were around $200,000 in today's dollars. In 2023, over $400,000. Housing costs doubled relative to inflation. Healthcare spending per household increased by over 600% since 1970. Childcare, which barely existed as a major expense when one parent was home, now costs the average American family over $11,000 per year per child. In high-cost areas, that's $20,000 to $30,000 per child. College costs have increased over 1,200% since 1980. Every fixed cost of being middle class exploded, and all that extra income from the second worker got absorbed, every dollar. The two-income family doesn't have double the financial security of the single-income family from 1970. They have less because their fixed costs expanded to consume both incomes, and they burned their backup plan just to keep up with baseline expenses. Now, you might be thinking this doesn't apply to you. Maybe you've been careful. Maybe you didn't let lifestyle inflation consume everything. Let me walk through the math and you can decide. Let's say one partner makes $70,000, the other makes $50,000. Combined, $120,000. That feels substantial. But let's trace what actually happens to that $50,000 second income. First, taxes. Because of progressive tax brackets, that second income gets taxed at a higher marginal rate. The first $70,000 moves through lower brackets. That additional $50,000 comes in at the top. Depending on your state, the effective tax rate on that second income could be 30 to 35%, federal, state, payroll taxes combined. So that $50,000 becomes about $32,000 to $35,000 in take-home pay. Now, childcare. If you have kids, you need it. The average cost of daycare in America is about $15,000 per year per child. 2 kids, $30,000. Your $50,000 income is now worth maybe $5,000, and we haven't left the house yet. Commuting costs. 2 working parents means 2 commutes. The average American commute costs about $5,000 in gas, maintenance, vehicle depreciation. That's if you're driving a paid-off car. If you need parking downtown, add another $2,000 to $3,000. If you need a second car you wouldn't otherwise need, car payment, insurance, registration, call it $8,000 total. Your $50,000 is now underwater. But there's more. 2 exhausted working parents means less time and energy for cooking, cleaning, home maintenance, all the tasks a stay-at-home parent might have managed. Studies show dual-income families spend significantly more on convenience services. House cleaners, delivery, lawn services, pre-made meals, eating out, because nobody has the energy to cook after a 10-hour day plus commute. These exhaustion expenses can easily add $5,000 to $10,000 per year compared to a household where one person has time to manage domestic labor. Let's add it up. $50,000 second income minus $18,000 for taxes minus $15,000 for childcare, one child, minus $8,000 for commuting, minus $7,000 for convenience and exhaustion spending. You're at $2,000. That's not a typo. A $50,000 salary after the costs required to earn it nets about $2,000 in actual household surplus. And that's assuming nothing goes wrong. No medical bills, no car repairs, no emergency expenses. That's the two-income trap. Not that people are bad with money, but that the structure of modern middle-class life requires both incomes to just function and leaves almost no margin for error. So let's be clear about what that math actually means. Someone is working full-time, commuting, being away from their kids, missing family dinners, grinding through traffic, and the household is netting $2,000 for the year. That's $8 per workday, about $1 per hour of actual work. But here's where the psychology becomes a trap. The gross numbers look big. You see that $120,000 combined income on your tax return, and you feel like you're doing well. You make spending decisions based on that $120,000. You buy the house that 2 incomes can qualify for. You take on car payments that 2 incomes can theoretically support. The bank looks at your combined income and says, yes, you can afford this $400,000 mortgage, and technically you can, as long as both incomes keep flowing forever, as long as neither of you get sick or laid off or burned out, as long as neither of you needs to take care of an aging parent or has a child with special needs, or hits any of the 1,000 unexpected life events that humans encounter. That's where the trap snaps shut. The single-income family from 1970 had something the two-income family today doesn't have: financial flexibility. If the breadwinner lost their job, the stay-at-home parent could find work. Not ideal, but it was a backup. It was margin. It was resilience. The two-income family has already played that card. Both incomes are already committed to the monthly expenses. There's no backup plan. There's no reserve income to activate. If either partner loses their job, gets sick, or can't work for any reason, the family doesn't just lose that income. They often can't maintain their fixed costs, even temporarily, because those costs were sized for two incomes. This is why Elizabeth Warren's research found that two-income families were more likely to file bankruptcy, not because they were irresponsible, because they had no margin for error. They were operating at 100% capacity with no reserves, like an engine running with no oil. Everything works fine until it doesn't, and then everything breaks at once. A 2019 Federal Reserve study found that nearly 40% of American adults couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing or selling something. 40%. And many of those people are in dual-income households making solid money on paper. They're not broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because their expenses expanded to consume every dollar of their combined earnings, and they're one transmission repair away from financial crisis. Here's what really clarifies the trap. The expenses that consumed the second income weren't luxuries. They weren't boats and vacations and frivolous spending. They were housing, childcare, healthcare, education. They were the fixed costs of participating in the middle class. Look at housing specifically, because this is where the bidding war effect becomes visible. In the single-income era, families competed for housing based on one income. When two-income families became the norm, families suddenly had twice the purchasing power for the same houses. What do you think happened to prices? They got bid up, way up. If everyone has two incomes, then two incomes become the baseline requirement, and suddenly you need two incomes just to afford what one income used to buy. It's an arms race where everyone escalated and nobody won. The same thing happened with education. School districts are largely funded by property taxes, which means good schools exist in expensive neighborhoods. Parents naturally want to live in areas with good schools, so families started bidding up property prices in good school districts, using their two incomes to outbid others. This created what Warren calls the bidding war for educational opportunity. The price of admission to good public schools became a $400,000 mortgage instead of a $200,000 mortgage. You're not paying tuition, but you're paying the tuition equivalent in your housing costs. And once you're locked into that mortgage, you're locked into needing both incomes forever. You can't go down. You can't go back to one income. The trap has closed. Now, you might be thinking, what am I supposed to do? I can't just have my partner quit their job. We need both incomes to survive. And that's exactly the trap. You need both incomes to survive the lifestyle you've built around both incomes. But here's the shift that changes how you see this. You need to start treating the second income like it's temporary, even if it isn't. Most families do the opposite. They treat both incomes as permanent and guaranteed, and they build their fixed costs accordingly. They buy the house that two incomes can afford. They lease the cars that two incomes can support. They enroll the kids in activities and schools that two incomes can pay for. And then they're stuck. They've built a life that requires two incomes to function, which means neither partner can ever stop working, even if they want to, even if life circumstances make it necessary. The alternative is what I call the one-income foundation. You structure your fixed costs, your non-negotiable monthly expenses, so they can be covered by one income alone. The second income then becomes entirely discretionary: savings, investments, debt payoff, or yes, some lifestyle enhancement. But the critical difference is that you could survive without it. You'd have to cut back. Life wouldn't be as comfortable, but you wouldn't lose the house. You wouldn't go bankrupt. You'd have the margin that modern dual-income families have lost. Let me make this concrete. Say your household makes $130,000 combined, $75,000 and $55,000. Instead of taking on a mortgage that requires $100,000 or more in annual income to service, you take on a mortgage that can be comfortably covered by $60,000. Instead of having two car payments, you have one or none. You live in a neighborhood that's maybe slightly less prestigious, with schools that are good but not elite. You buy the house that one income can afford, and you bank the difference. That second income, or at least the majority of it, goes straight into building wealth. Emergency fund first, then retirement accounts, then taxable investments. Every dollar you invest is buying back optionality. It's buying the flexibility to have one partner step back if needed, to take a career risk, to handle a health crisis, to be present for aging parents, to actually have a choice. This requires sacrifice in the short term. It means driving past the nice houses you could technically qualify for. It means explaining to friends why you're not upgrading your lifestyle, even though you got a raise. It means resisting the social pressure to spend like a dual-income family, because you're building like a single-income family. But here's the payoff. Within 5 to 10 years of this approach, something shifts. The investments you made with that second income start generating their own income. Compounding takes over. And suddenly, you actually have what you thought dual incomes would give you in the first place. Genuine financial security. You're no longer 2 job losses away from a crisis. You're building wealth instead of treading water. You can make decisions based on what's best for your family rather than what's necessary to make the mortgage payment. The 2-income trap isn't really about income. It's about flexibility. It's about margin. It's about having options. Our grandparents with 1 income had something we've traded away: the ability to absorb a shock, to change direction, to have one partner focus on raising kids or caring for family without the whole financial structure collapsing. We traded that flexibility for bigger houses and nicer cars and the appearance of prosperity. But appearances aren't wealth, cash flow isn't security, and 2 incomes aren't better than 1 if both of them are already spent before they arrive. The families who thrive financially in the modern economy aren't the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who've preserved their flexibility, who've refused to let their expenses expand to consume their income, who've kept their backup plan in reserve instead of deploying it just to keep up with everyone else. You can earn your way out of a lot of problems, but you can't earn your way out of a trap you don't even know you're in. Now you know. If this helps you see your household income differently, not as 2 paychecks, but as one foundation and one opportunity, that's the shift that matters. Understanding money means understanding the structure beneath it.